Hello and a big welcome back to the Wee Larder channel. Hope you're all doing fine. Today we're going to be making a delicious Christmassy chocolate orange steamed pudding. So you will need a steamer dish for this. You'll see what I'm talking about in the video. Really easy to make. You just cannot go wrong with this type of recipe. It's almost impossible to overdo it, and it comes out perfect every time when I make it. So it's a lovely traditional steamed pudding with chocolate pieces and orange flavouring and some melted chocolate drizzled over the top just before serving. So this recipe is actually based on one of my recipes from my Christmas cookbook. I'll put the link for that down below as well. And I've kind of changed it up a little bit and adding some chocolate and orange into it, taking out the marmalade and stuff, and turned it into more of a Christmassy pudding. Although I do think the marmalade pudding is very Christmassy as well. But my kids wanted to try a chocolate version, so we thought we'd go with that. You can also print out the recipe over on my Patreon membership. I'll put the link down below, and you can get my whole collection of recipes over there from, I think they started going up there almost a year ago actually. So all my future recipes you'll find on Patreon. I think maybe 1 in 4 is going to go over to my website, but if you want to keep in touch with all of them, Patreon's your place to be. So if you want to print that out before we get started, go over there and do so. I like to save them to my phone, so I find it really easy just to flick through as I'm cooking and save it into my phone files with all my other recipes in there. So let's get started on our delicious Christmassy chocolate orange pudding. So for this lovely chocolate orange steamed pudding, we're going to need all of these ingredients here. If you can't get your hands on beef suet, I know some of you can't, you could try using some other type of vegetable fat. It might even work well with butter. I haven't tried it, but you could give it a go. So we're going to grease up our steaming bowl here. So I think this is about 2 litres in size approximately. And we're just going to set that aside. You do get smaller ones, so if you want to make a half-size pudding, you can make a half-size pudding in the larger bowl and it just kind of comes out a bit flatter, or you do get smaller steaming bowls as well. So this one feeds about 6 to 8 people, I would say, probably 8 actually. So we tend to just use the larger one and have a little bit of leftovers. So I'm going to add the self-raising flour and the salt into the sieve here. We're just going to sieve that through. So this is the beef suet. I do get asked about this quite a lot. It is beef fat, and I think it's kidney fat actually, but I'll need to Google that. So it's kind of chopped up into small pieces. So if you are using a substitute, just see if you can chop it up into small pieces to add into this recipe, just so that it kind of spreads around. So I'm adding it in with the dry ingredients. So we're basically adding all of the dry ingredients in here, including the sugar, the chocolate chip pieces, the mixed spices and ground cloves. And we're going to give that a good mix through. I think I missed a couple of shots in the film in there, so I do apologise about that. But basically you're just going to add all of your dried ingredients in and mix it through. And we're then going to add in our egg. We're going to add in our orange extract. For some reason I added it into the milk, so I mixed it up. I just thought maybe it would be easier, but you can just pour it right into the bowl if you want to. So we've added in about half of our milk, and we're just going to give that a good stir through. We're just going to add a wee bit of milk in at a time and just stir it through until we have almost like a cake batter type of consistency is what we're looking for. So just keep going with your milk until you have a nice smooth batter. And we're in the background, we're going to start simmering our water away in our pan as well. So just get that going in the background too. And we're just going to pour all of our batter into our steamed pudding bowl. And we're just going to smooth that down on the top there as well. So once we have our mixture nice and smooth on the top, I mean, you don't need to smooth it down as much as I have here, but I obviously thought it needed extra smoothing. We're going to get a piece of greaseproof paper and a piece of tin foil on the top. And what we're going to do is just make a fold in the middle. So you just want to fold it and then fold it over. And this is just so we have a space for the foil to rise if our pudding rises up, which it probably will in this size of dish. So we just want to fold that down, and then we're going to place that on top of our pudding, like so. Now, mine was actually a little bit neat. It could have been a little bit longer actually on the sides, but just do the best you can. You just want to make sure that there's enough foil going around the edges to be able to tie it on. And you can see the fold there on the top as well. So we're just going to add our string on now. Just make sure it is underneath the edge of the bowl so that it's nice and tight. So once we have that nice and tight there, you can see the fold is there as well, just to give it room to rise. We can then pop it into the pan. So our pan is simmering away here. We're going to add a plate in as well, upside down, just so that it doesn't burn on the bottom. And this likes to rattle away for the whole 2 hours that we're going to cook this for. It's actually 2.5 hours for this one. So we're going to pop that in. Just make sure you have enough water in there as well. So you're wanting enough water to be about 3/4 of the side of the dish. So don't put it up to the top or anything. We want to bring it to a boil and then bring it back down to a simmer. So you can see this has risen. So it was really handy to have that fold in there. So I just wanted to show you as well, I'm actually cooking a clouty dumpling in the background here as well, because I had all the family over for our Christmas Day dinner, which we do at the beginning of December, just get all the Campbells round. So this is my clouty dumpling. I actually cooked up a wee one. I didn't go for the full size this time because I was just, a few oldies were wanting the clouty dumpling, they had requested it, so I think I maybe added a little bit too much flour in the muslin before I put the clouty in, but that's okay. It just dried out in the oven anyway. So after this stage, you basically just dry it out and it is then finished. If you're over on Instagram, you would have seen my completed clouty dumpling. I just wanted to give you a wee peek at that as it was going on in the background anyway. But yeah, so here's our delicious steamed pudding. Back to the actual recipe that we're focusing on. If you do want a clouty dumpling recipe, by the way, there is one on my YouTube page and over on my website as well. And it's also over on my Patreon too. And it's very, very soft to touch. It does harden as it cools just because of the fat content, but once you reheat it again, it softens up really, really well. So it tends to last quite a long time as well, I think, because of the fat content too. And it reheats really, really well. So for the top, I'm basically just melting some chocolate and I'm adding a wee splash of cream in. I'm just adding a wee bit of the orange extract in there as well, so it's about a teaspoon or so. But I just think the chocolate topping works so well with this pudding. You could try and put chocolate in when you're steaming your pudding as well, but I just like to add it on at the end. And if I'm making like a jammed pudding or something, I would put the jam in the bottom of the steamed pudding dish. But for this recipe, I'm just adding it in. So once our chocolate's melted, I've added a wee splash of cream, and I have a really nice thick chocolatey sauce for the top.
So I started by sprinkling on the sprinkles, and then I ended up just throwing them on for the sides. I find it easier to do that. And the pudding was quite cool by this point. I did have a lot going on that day, so it's very cool by the time I got to decorating it. So when I'm cutting it here, the sponge does actually look really firm, but that's just because it's kind of cooled down and it's sort of solidified again. But it did heat up really, really well again, and it was nice and soft once it was heated up again. So you can see all your chocolate pieces through the sponge there. You could add in dried fruit into this as well. Maybe some of those dried orange pieces would be really nice. So this was after it was heated up again, so it was really nice and soft, really fluffy on the inside, and really good with a good dollop of cream. You could also make extra chocolate sauce and serve up extra chocolate sauce over the top here if you wanted to, and you could even add cream on top of that if you wanted to as well.
So I hope you enjoyed making your lovely steamed pudding. I hope it came out as delicious as ours was. We love serving ours up with ice cream, whipped cream. Also works well with custard as well, especially the chocolate version, so delicious. And even the next day, the leftovers can be heated up really easily in the microwave, or you could pop them back into your steamer or pop it into the oven as well. And if you want to make a bigger one, you can also double up the recipe too, but you would obviously need a large steaming pot for that, and maybe a bigger pan as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the recipe. If you haven't subscribed here and you do want to keep in touch, feel free to click the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and I'll see you guys again soon. And as I mentioned before, all my recipes and all my future recipes are going to be on my Patreon website for printing and saving. And if you want to support the Wheel Order, you can join me over on Patreon as well. Also, if you're over on Instagram, pop over and say hello. I'm always posting behind the scenes on my stories and what I'm getting up to. I'm usually out and about with the dog, running or climbing hills or all those fun things. Skiing as well, especially in the winter if I can get out and if we have snow. So if you're on Instagram, pop over and say hello and keep in touch over there. And I think that's everything from me, so take care, lots of love, bye bye.